Everything shifted during my hospital stay. This residence belongs to you no longer. You lack a spot here. Locate another place to reside. I stood still. The injury, not yet mended, ached sharply. I could not accept those statements emerging from the lips of my sole child, the individual to whom I had devoted my whole existence. I had been admitted for just 3 weeks because of issues following my hip operation. I came back expecting a reunion with my dear ones, merely to discover the entrance closed on the dwelling Anthony and I had constructed diligently across 30 years. At that moment, I recognized the deception. It went beyond merely forfeiting my residence. Look how rich I am. If you have ever pondered what occurs when a parent is driven to her utmost boundary, continue perusing and inform me in the remarks beneath from which town you are viewing this. My release forms from the medical facility rustled in my coat as the cab approached my traditional design home. 21 days had seemed endless. Issues from my hip procedure had left me fighting high temperature and illness while existence proceeded without my involvement. I felt worn out, yet glad to be returning finally home. The 2-level structure that Anthony and I had affectionately refurbished over our 30 years of matrimony appeared ahead, illuminated by the fading daytime glow. The flowers I had set out many years earlier continued to flourish along the path, although they obviously required attention following my time away. "Require aid with your luggage, madame?" the operator inquired, eyeing my walking stick. Only to the entrance, kindly, I answered, my tone affected by the arid medical center atmosphere. My child ought to be anticipating. The main entry swung open prior to our arrival. Richard, my single offspring, positioned himself in the opening, yet not with the grin I anticipated. Rather, his countenance displayed a look I had never observed, chilly, remote, firm. His speech mirrored that identical dry, official manner. Beyond him, I noticed activity in the sitting area, his spouse, Veronica, and could those be her folks? "Richard, what is happening?" I questioned, advancing. He obstructed the access, refusing to step aside. "You ought not to have arrived. We anticipated you the following day." The cab operator placed my compact valise next to me, detecting the strain. I compensated him swiftly, abruptly hoping he would remain. "There exists no simple method to express this," Richard persisted as the cab departed. "Circumstances altered during your admission. This residence belongs to you no longer." A chill passed through me unrelated to my recuperating physique. "What do you mean? We arranged matters. Veronica's folks required relocation from Dallas, and this dwelling offers far greater room than you require. The paperwork is completed. You must locate another place to reside." My thoughts fought to absorb his statements. "Paperwork? I had endorsed nothing. Richard, this is ridiculous. Allow me inside my residence immediately." I advanced once more, supporting myself greatly on my walking stick. This occasion, Veronica materialized next to him. Her light-colored locks were flawlessly arranged, and she donned what I instantly identified as my jade studs, Annie's present for our 25th milestone. "Isabella," she stated with that artificial kindness I had grown to recognize through the years. "We have packed your individual items already. They are in containers in the storage area. We may dispatch them to wherever you are lodging." From beyond them, Veronica's folks, Raymond and Claudia Sterling, appeared. Through the years, I had encountered them scarcely more than a handful of occasions. Raymond, lofty and gracefully fit, with gray locks, had constantly appeared to me as conceited. Claudia, with her constantly critical look, never troubled to conceal her scorn for my humble dwelling, the exact structure she now occupied, as though she possessed it. "I regret it reached this point," Raymond declared, appearing not remorseful whatsoever, but Richard clarified the plans quite precisely. "The residence was transferred lawfully. Lawfully, I succeeded in muttering, that is unfeasible. I never endorsed anything. Richard's countenance stiffened. Authority of attorney. Recall those forms you endorsed prior to your procedure for health choices. They additionally covered monetary issues. The disclosure struck me like a blow. Indeed, I had endorsed a pile of forms presented to me by my personal child. While I worried about the intervention, I relied on him completely. I had not even perused beyond the initial sheet. You deceived me, I stated. The statements rang empty, inadequate versus the scale of the deception. We are performing what benefits all, Veronica inserted. This dwelling is excessive for you to manage by yourself. Richard has handled it for years. Refrain from appearing here anew, Richard concluded resolutely. We will dispatch your items. The choice is definite. I remained there, supporting on my walking stick, gazing at the child I had nurtured, the lad I had recited nighttime tales to, the youth I had instructed in operating vehicles, the adult whose university fees I had covered by taking additional duties. Now he appeared as an unfamiliar person bearing my child's features. This is unlawful. I stated gently, and you realize it. It is completed. He answered icily. Refrain from complicating it. Something shattered within me, yet not as they foreseen. No weeping, no appeals. It represented a chilling lucidity, a resolve I had not experienced since my period managing bank adherence. Savor it then, I stated plainly, shifting away. Savor everything. The bewilderment on their countenances at my composure nearly rendered the ruin worth-while. Nearly, as I hobbled toward the cab, I had possessed the prudence to request it to remain. I extracted my telephone not to contact authorities. Not immediately, that would occur subsequently, on my schedule, in my manner. Rather, I dispatched one communication to Gloria Evans. Plan B, the lodging chamber in Central Phoenix was impersonal, yet tidy, a short term sanctuary as I restored my vigor and focus. My palms continued to shake as I rested on the bed's border, fixating on my telephone. Gloria responded promptly. Remain secure. I am en route. Gloria Evans and I had shared friendship for 40 years, dating to university. She had evolved into a powerful attorney, whereas I had developed my profession in bank adherence. Following Anani's passing, she had assisted me in arranging my matters with a precision stemming from our mutual career caution. Always possess a contingency, she had counseled, particularly regarding relatives and funds. Then, I believed she exaggerated. Now her prudence appeared nearly prescient. A gentle rap at the entry signaled her presence. Despite the advanced time, Gloria appeared flawless in her fitted attire, her gray locks drawn into her signature knot. Her look, however, radiated absolute anger. Those wretched scavengers, she murmured furiously as she embraced me cautiously, aware of my recuperating physique. Are you okay, bodily or mentally? I tried a grin that failed to reach my gaze. Both. She set her portfolio on the workspace and started extracting documents with practiced speed. I am upright, which counts for something. The remainder I stated, reclining onto the bed. I continue imagining I will awaken, and this entire matter will prove a delirium from high temperature. Gloria's look eased briefly before resuming her career facade. I have initiated the procedure already. The fiduciary records are firm. Anthony was thorough. The resident's conveyance will not endure judicial examination. How much time, I inquired, to nullify this deceitful conveyance? Several weeks, possibly months, if they opt to resist fiercely. She halted. But, Isabella, another matter exists. One I discovered while examining your holdings. My abdomen tightened. What? Abnormal deductions from your funding portfolios during your admission. Substantial deductions. She passed me a printed record. I reviewed it rapidly. My banking background instantly spotted the anomalies. 5 movements summing over $220,000, all to holdings I failed to identify. all executed with electronic endorsements supposedly from me. While I remained scarcely aware in the critical care unit, I murmured, sensing the complete burden of the deception. They seized not only my residence, they have depleted my holdings. Another aspect worsens, Gloria persisted solemnly. My legal aid conducted an initial review on the Sterlings. Their property advisory firm in Dallas possesses multiple grievances that vanished mysteriously prior to official probes commencing. And Veronica's professional summary displays tenure at 3 lending firms that ultimately shut due to compliance breaches. All connected with eerie precision. Do they engage in some mortgage deception? Gloria assented, and they probably schemed it for months, awaiting the ideal instance. Your admission provided the ideal chance to hasten their intentions. My thoughts flashed to dialogues from the prior year. Veronica's increasing curiosity in my funds, Richard's apparently casual inquiries about my banking holdings and associates. The base of this deception had formed well before my procedure. Richard, I stated, his identity lodging in my throat. Do you suppose he comprehends their actions? Gloria's quiet sufficed as response. I instructed him superior to that. I whispered, scarcely audible. His parent instructed him superior, also, Gloria answered, her manner gentle yet steadfast. Individuals alter, Isabella, particularly when funds intervene. The inquiry now is, what do you wish to pursue? I shut my gaze, sensing the burden of 67 years committed to constructing a profession, a relatives, a dwelling. When I reopened them, an element within me had solidified. Everything, I responded. I wish to pursue all feasible to recover what belongs to me and ensure they encounter the outcomes. All, even Richard. Gloria's brow scarcely rose. No parental safeguard provision. I stated. He selected his path. Uttering it pained, yet it held truth. If he participates in something unlawful, he merits what approaches. She assented, content with my resolve. Then we must act wisely, methodically. I possess associates in the FBI Monetary Offenses Division who would find our discoveries highly intriguing. I possess associates also, I answered, recalling past coworkers, but I prefer not to hasten. They believe I am vanquished, a frail elderly lady who will withdraw. Silently, that view grants us a benefit. What are you considering? I retrieved from my satchel a compact dark journal, my anchor during my banking period. Initially, we record all, each deduction, each falsified form, each falsehood uttered. Then we trace the fund path. If they establish a deception, patterns will emerge. Gloria grinned, that keen, fierce grin I recalled from our younger days. And then, I stated, sensing an icy resolve surge through me. We activate the snare when they anticipate it least. We started sketching the strategy. My telephone vibrated with a note from Richard. Mom, we require the access codes to your funding portfolios to move the leftover amounts for your support. Dispatch them promptly. I displayed the note to Gloria, who shook her head in revulsion. What should I reply? I questioned. Nothing immediately. She answered, permit them to ponder, permit them to fret. I assented, placing the telephone aside. The former Isabella would have replied instantly, anxious to soothe tensions, to preserve harmony regardless of price. But that Isabella remained at the entry of the dwelling they appropriated from me. This Isabella engaged in the extended contest, secluded in a lodging chamber. I reconnected with my closest ally and attorney, Gloria, who disclosed startling information. Not merely had they appropriated my residence, but they depleted my holdings while I remained admitted. Upon detecting dubious patterns in the Sterling's enterprise past, I faced the anguishing likelihood that my personal child participated in something genuinely malevolent. Still mending physically, yet stronger in my purpose, I reached a crucial choice. Rather than challenging them directly, I would allow them to assume victory while I quietly assembled the evidence that would prove their ruin. You must view this, Gloria stated, pushing her portable computer across the lodging workspace. 3 days had elapsed since my degrading removal. We had shifted to a cozier prolonged residence unit, compensating in currency to avoid digital records. My bodily vigor gradually returned, though the sentimental injuries stayed fresh. The display showed asset logs from my area. I narrowed my eyes, inspecting the file. The third asset from the base, Gloria pointed. My gaze expanded in astonishment. The Miller household, 2 residences away, had transferred their dwelling 3 months prior. The purchasers, Sterling Investment Properties, LLC. That cannot coincide, I whispered. Even superior, Gloria stated, scanning additional files. The Henderson household opposite had transferred to the identical firm last month, and the retired pair on the corner possessed their dwelling under agreement with that purchaser. They acquire the entire area, I murmured, observing the plot form. But for what reason? Gloria accessed a zoning application submitted to the Municipal Development Office 2 weeks past while I remained admitted. They filed this suggestion to alter the zoning for the whole segment from single household, residential to mixed use business. The update struck me like a strike. My area sat on the border of downtown Phoenix's swiftly growing zone. With the fresh zoning, asset worth would soar. They utilized my residence as central base while acquiring the surrounding dwellings, I stated, abruptly comprehending how elements aligned. Once they dominate sufficient of the segment, they may enforce the alteration, and worth will at minimum triple. Gloria completed. With present market rates, we discuss a possible gain between $15 and $20 million. My banking background promptly understood the scheme's scale, but they required vast starting funds to commence acquisitions. Where would they obtain it? Gloria's look dimmed. That becomes troubling. I requested an examiner associate to inspect records. The Sterlings possess a past in Dallas. They spot susceptible proprietors, mainly older or those with monetary difficulties, and employ exploitative credits to capture their assets. Mortgage deception, I stated, recalling the phrase clearly from my bank years. Precisely. They propose refinancing overly attractive. They alter evaluations with fake accounts and design the credits to fail inevitably. When proprietors cannot compensate, they acquire the assets for a small portion of value. I considered my neighbors, many aged, surviving on set earnings in dwellings owned for decades, ideal targets. And my holdings, the amounts transferred surely the starting funds. They required capital for initial acquisitions and to manage costs until the strategy succeeded. My funding collection proved the handiest origin. The deliberate harshness of everything stole my breath. It exceeded merely my dwelling and funds. It involved using it to ruin my whole locality, individuals who attended Anani's service, who delivered meals when I became widowed. And Richard, I questioned, at last expressing the uncertainty haunting me. How engaged is he? Gloria paused before accessing another directory. This recorded 3 weeks past at the Dallas First National Bank. The protection footage displayed Richard and Veronica entering the bank jointly and consulting a credit official. The time mark indicated it occurred 2 days post my procedure, while I remained deeply sedated in critical care. I realized they employed the authority of attorney to access my safety box. I grasped this upon identifying the bank where I stored vital files. Indeed, and per the entry record, Gloria verified, they extracted various objects, including the initial title to your asset and the fiduciary documents. I shut my gaze, overcome momentarily. My personal child, the lad who once insisted on total equity in games, who returned a billfold with $50 within. How could he evolve into this individual? Another item you ought to view, Gloria stated softly, presenting an email sequence. My associates at the SEC forwarded these. The Sterlings monitored for some time. The emails occurred between Veronica and her father, nearly 8 months past. They outlined their intentions in veiled terms, highlighting assets in my area, assessing which proprietors could fall to their tricks. And most unsettling, they referenced my dwelling as their command post once they secured it. One specific line froze my veins. Still reluctant but complying, it states, parent, improbable to recover completely from planned procedure, hastened schedule, planned procedure. I echoed nearly silently. My hip substitution lacked urgency. It scheduled months ahead. Isabella, Gloria's tone warned, as if bracing me for impact. They awaited this. They anticipated I would weaken post-procedure. I persisted, the dreadful reality emerging. They relied on it. We lack proof if Richard grasped the complete scope, Gloria began. Sufficient, I lifted my palm, unable to tolerate further defenses for my child. He comprehended sufficient. He comprehended they desired my dwelling, my funds. He comprehended they plotted while I lacked capacity. The agony of that assurance cut deeper than any operative tool. My personal child had deceived me, yet with planning and iciness. I rose, disregarding the objection from my mending hip, and approached the pane. The phoenix horizon sparkled beneath the dusk, unconcerned with my personal drama unfolding in its paths. "What do you wish to pursue?" Gloria questioned gently. I faced her, my choice utterly evident. "I desire fairness," I answered plainly. "Not solely for myself, but for all, for those deceived or intended to deceive, and I desire my dwelling returned." Gloria assented, grave yet resolute. "Then we must proceed carefully. They assume they triumphed already." "That provides us surprise." "Good," I answered, a strategy already shaped in my thoughts, because I intended to deliver them the shock of their existences. As I examined the asset logs with Gloria, a troubling trend surfaced. The Sterlings systematically acquired dwellings across my area, readying a grand rezoning strategy worth millions. The deception pained further upon finding proof that Richard lacked mere opportunism. He comprehended the intentions for months. He may have timed the seizure exactly with my procedure, with my locality and long-standing neighbors threatened by their exploitative plot. My purpose solidified. It exceeded retrieving my dwelling. It involved halting a refined deception before additional susceptible individuals suffered. And I proved the exact individual knowledgeable in executing it. "Isabella, are you certain about this?" Gloria questioned worriedly, observing me apply cosmetics in the lodging washroom reflector. "Your hip continues mending." I endured 21 days in that medical bed, sensing powerless. I answered, applying lip color with firm palm. I finished powerlessness. A week elapsed since my removal. In that period, Gloria and I painstakingly recreated the Sterling operations function. Their Dallas firm left a path of monetary sufferers, older who forfeited all via exploitative agreements and falsified files. Now they duplicated the plot in Phoenix, employing my dwelling as headquarters. The schedule must prove flawless, I noted her, granting myself a last glance in the reflector. My refined gray trouser outfit and subtle adornments projected precisely the impression I sought. Not a conquered aged lady, but a banking expert with decades of background. The operatives remain discreet, Gloria verified. They prepare. They act solely upon our cue. After uncovering the scam's extent, we presented our proof to the FBI Monetary Offenses Division. The operatives built a case against the Sterlings for months, yet lacked internal entry we now provided. We reached an agreement. They would delay instant detentions to allow us collect firmer proof, and reciprocally, I gained precedence in reclaiming my holdings. Recall, we require recorded evidence they employ my identity and monetary details. I repeated the strategy's core elements. Bank entry, falsified endorsements, clear acknowledgement of the intention. Lacking those files, they could assert I willingly yielded all. Gloria assented as she viewed her timepiece. Veronica's regular beauty session commences in 30 minutes. She will absent for minimum 2 hours. Raymond and Claudia attend a property inspection distant, and Richard, per his agenda, returns from duties at 5:00. Flawless, my child's foreseeable pattern, once charming, now my tactical edge. I inhaled deeply to calm myself. Proceed, the cab halted me 2 segments from my dwelling. I proceeded gradually, employing the walking stick more as pretense of weakness than necessity. The area appeared identical as ever, with maintained landscapes, aged structures, and the majestic oak at the corner where Richard constructed a playhouse. Yet all sensed altered to me, tainted by the assurance of concealed events. As I neared the dwelling, I observed minor alterations. The flowers I nurtured for years vanished, substituted by ordinary vegetation. The veranda furnishings Anthony and I refurbished absent. The change initiated, removing our relatives' marks, I avoided the main entry. I chose to encircle to the lateral access, leading to the cooking area, which in my rush to reach the medical center, I neglected to secure. For years it served as our hidden. Richard, as youth, utilized it to enter post-curfew, assuming my ignorance. The mechanism rotated smoothly in the fastener. I proceeded quietly, barely hearing unknown voices from my workspace. Tracking the noise, I halted before the partially open entry. The Miller household closure scheduled Friday, a male voice stated, identified as Raymond Sterling's. Once completed, we dominate 40% of the segment and the Henderson asset. Another unknown voice inquired, probably an associate. Already settled, we utilized Mrs. Hayes's banking details to obtain the funding. Spotless, my palm clenched my walking stick firmly. They employed my identity and banking standing to conduct their deceptions, precisely what we required to establish. I triggered the recording on my telephone prior to thrusting the entry open. The setting halted like an image. Raymond Sterling, positioned behind Anani's vintage workspace, his associate by the pane, all fixating on me with open shock. "Greetings, Raymond," I stated calmly, conducting affairs in my workspace. "Isabella," he responded instantly, rising. "This proves unforeseen. How entered you via the entry?" I answered straightforwardly, "the identical entry to the dwelling that remains mine lawfully." His associate, anxious male in his 30s, viewed us restlessly. "Shall I return later, Mr. Sterling?" "Unnecessary." I responded prior to Raymond speaking. I arrived merely to retrieve certain individual documents required. Raymond's look hardened. "This asset belongs to you no longer," Richard clarified thoroughly. Indeed, he did. I assented, approaching the document storage in the corner. Thorough about his aims, equally thorough as you employing my banking details for your funding activities. Hue faded from Raymond's countenance. "I lack knowledge of your reference, do I?" I accessed the storage compartment and extracted a directory. "The Henderson asset employing my information to obtain funds. I overheard you addressing it." The associate started retreating to the departure. "Mr. Sterling, I believe I should depart. Isabella lacks clarity," Raymond stated abruptly. "Her latest admission impacted her cognitive condition, did it not, Isabella?" I grinned icily as I shut the compartment. My thoughts prove entirely lucid. Lucid sufficient to grasp what you, Claudia, and Veronica plot. Lucid sufficient to question if my child genuinely comprehends the judicial outcomes of the deception he enables. Raymond's countenance shifted, the facade of worry melting to expose pure, planned threat. "You possess no evidence of anything, and even possessing, none would trust you above your personal child. Now depart prior to me summoning authorities and removing you for intrusion." I assented as if assessing his statements. "You correct on one aspect, Raymond. Evidence proves vital." I elevated my telephone, plainly showing the recording function. That explains why I ensured to capture it. His gaze expanded with anger, removing any astonishment. Surrender that telephone? I believe not. I retreated to the entry, my pulse racing, though externally serene. I obtained what I sought, savor the dwelling while possible. As I pivoted to exit, Raymond pounced, seizing my limb with painful strength. You depart not with that capture. I failed to foresee bodily conflict. An intense ache surged through my mending hip as I fought to remain vertical. Release me, I required, elevating my tone deliberately. Surrender the telephone initially, he snarled, attempting to grab it with his alternate palm. At that moment, the main entry exploded open, FBI, palms visible. Operatives Rips and Callahan rushed in, arms ready. Raymond halted, then gradually freed my limb, elevating his palms. Our backup strategy, triggered by the emergency application on my telephone, functioned perfectly. Isabella Hayes, Operative Rip sneered as her colleague restrained Raymond. Are you fine? Yes, I answered, supporting against the entry frame. And I possess something you will deem highly intriguing. Assuming a measured chance, I returned to my dwelling, exploiting Veronica's absence and entering via a neglected lateral entry to astonish Raymond Sterling amid addressing his deceptions. When challenged, his starting astonishment shifted to threatening demeanor, compelling our FBI associates to act sooner than intended. Though the encounter became bodily, I obtained the evidence required, a capture where Raymond openly confessed employing my banking details in his plot. As he departed in restraints, I realized this marked merely the start of unraveling their full activity. The true challenge would arrive when my child learned what occurred and that his parent caused the Sterling's collapse. The FBI facility proved impersonally chilly. Neutral partitions, practical furnishings, a subtle aroma of brew and documents. I awaited in a discussion chamber, my hip hurting despite the additional potency analgesic Operative Rips provided. Mrs. Hayes, Operative Callahan noted, shutting his pad, your capture proves exceedingly precious, merged with the monetary files you and MS. Evans supplied, we possess sufficient to obtain exploration permits for all Sterling assets and logs. And regarding my dwelling, I questioned, and my holdings. A magistrate already released an urgent directive halting any dealings linked to your asset, he guaranteed. None may vend or convey it until judicial possession clarifies. I sensed profound ease, though aware this marked merely the onset. The Sterlings remained detained, but Richard and Veronica remained ignorant of events. What occurs next? I desired to learn. We will implement exploration permits at their home tonight. Rips elaborated, Mrs. Sterling will face inquiry. Regarding your child, the operative paused, easing her career manner slightly. Per your accounts, we must ascertain his possible engagement level. The entry opened, and Gloria proceeded, her countenance grave yet content. The initial judicial directives just reached. They simultaneously advance on the Sterling's facilities in Dallas. Mrs. Hayes Callahan stated cautiously, we comprehend this proves complex. If you prefer avoiding presence when we implement the permit at your dwelling, I will attend. I cut firmly. This proves my dwelling. I desire to witness this to completion. 3 hours subsequently, I occupied an unmarked FBI transport parked opposite my dwelling. The dusk glow faded, extending shades across the grass where Richard once frolicked as youth. Veronica's transport sat in the drive. She returned from her beauty session. Entirely unaware, her father processed at the National Holding Center. In place, Rips whispered from the operator's seat, hearing updates via her listening device. Mrs. Sterling Hayes, verified within along with her offspring, arrived sooner than foreseen. My pulse constricted. Richard ought not return yet. I hoped to avoid him the open display of impending events. I even planned for separate approach at his workplace. Now he would face the full raid impact beside his spouse. Certain you wish to observe this? Gloria questioned adjacent, placing her palm over mine. Prior to response, a fleet of transports emerged down the path. 3 unmarked cars and a strategic vehicle. They halted before my dwelling and operatives disembarked with coordinated actions, some donning typical FBI coats. Federal operatives, we possess a permit. The statements echoed distinctly in the serene area as they neared the main entry. I failed to hear the interior reply, but the entry opened. A moment later, from my viewpoint, I observed Veronica in the opening, her countenance moving from bewilderment to astonishment. Beyond her, Richard materialized, placing himself guardingly beside his spouse. "It is time," Rip stated, opening her entry. "Remain behind us." As we traversed the path, neighbors appeared from their dwellings, attracted by the disturbance. I sensed their inquisitive, worried looks, some perhaps enjoying the developing scene. Veronica initially spotted me nearing behind the operatives, her meticulously preserved calm destroyed. "You," she hissed, her tone escalating frantically. "You caused this." Richard's gaze fixed on mine, his look moving from bewilderment to dread, as he grasped. I accompanied the national operatives, not interrogated like them. "Mom," his tone faltered slightly, "what occurs? Your parent supplied proof of a vast monetary deception by the Sterling relatives. Operative Callahan declared officially, we possess a permit to explore these grounds and seize all pertinent files and digital gadgets. Deception," Richard echoed, appearing truly perplexed. "What deception? This proves ridiculous." "It does," I stated, progressing, my walking stick striking a beat against the surface. "Raymond proved quite explicit this morning about employing my banking details to obtain deceitful funding in my workspace in my dwelling." Veronica's countenance lost all hue. "You attended. How achieved it?" "The lateral entry," I answered plainly. "Certain aspects about this dwelling you never learned, Veronica. Like it lawfully belongs to a fiduciary established by my departed spouse, which cannot convey without all fiduciary's endorsements, including Gloria, who assuredly endorsed nothing." Richard viewed me and his spouse, increasingly frantic. "Mom, it proved a misinterpretation. We sought to assist you by appropriating my dwelling, depleting my holdings, installing your relatives, in law in an asset plot, employing my monetary standing." My tone stayed resolute despite internal sentiment turmoil. "That lacks assistance, Richard. That proves deception. That proves larceny. Mrs. Sterling Hayes, we require you accompany us for inquiry." Rips inserted, indicating toward one transport. Veronica's astonishment yielded to planned serenity. "I desire my attorney present." "I state nothing without counsel. That proves your entitlement." Callahan recognized before facing Richard. "Mr. Thompson requires discussion also." I failed to comprehend. Richard stated, his tone empty. "Mom, what achieved you?" The inquiry, so reversed, so exposing his failure to acknowledge personal fault, struck me like a strike. "What achieved I?" I echoed, fixating on him. "I safeguarded myself and others from individuals who assume they may seize whatever desired without outcomes." "I instructed you superior to this, Richard. Your parent instructed you superior. As operatives guided Veronica toward a waiting transport, she pivoted with unforeseen spite." "You assume victory. You lack idea what occurs when my father's attorneys engage. Your father remains detained already," I cut serenely. "And your parent also. The FBI currently explores your Dallas facilities." It concludes Veronica. Her countenance contorted with anger as operatives firmly directed her into the car. Richard stayed on the veranda, observing incredulously as other operatives preceded our dwelling, bearing gear to gather proof. "Mom," he whispered as I pivoted to accompany Gloria to our transport, "I failed to comprehend all they intended. You must trust me." I halted, examining the countenance of the child I nurtured, seeking honesty in his gaze. "Possibly you failed to comprehend all," I allowed. "But you comprehended sufficient, Richard, and yet you selected them over me." As I departed, I heard his shattered tone beyond. Where supposed I proceed now? I failed to glance rearward. That inquiry mirrored the exact one I encountered when he expelled me from my personal dwelling. The balance failed to escape me, but unlike my child, I derived no pleasure in his suffering, merely a deep sorrow for our mutual loss. Certain deceptions, I learned, create injuries too profound for easy pardon. As FBI operatives explored my dwelling, detained Veronica, and inquired Richard, I observed from opposite the path, divided between triumph and ache. The perplexity on my child's countenance when he grasped, I orchestrated his collapse, soon shifted to frantic rejection, asserting ignorance of the intention. Veronica's facade of serenity ultimately fractured, exposing the scheming offender she always proved. While another segment recoiled at Richard's imploring inquiry, where supposed I proceed now, I acknowledged the poetic fairness. He experienced precisely what he inflicted on me. Certain teachings arrive at dreadful expense, but as I departed the dwelling I would soon recover. I realized this challenge marked solely the initial stage on an extended route toward fairness and possibly someday mending. You ought to consume something, Isabella. Gloria advanced a vessel of broth toward me on the lodging workspace we transformed into a temporary station. 3 days elapsed since the FBI activity. 3 days of accounts, proof examination, and judicial sessions, granting me scarcely time to absorb all occurred. I lack hunger, I answered, examining the newest document bundle Gloria fetched from her station. You lacked hunger for days, she pressed. Your physique continues mending. You require vigor. I exhaled, recognizing her correctness. The bodily strain and pressure caught up. Reluctantly, I accessed the vessel and sampled a bit of the poultry broth, improved, Gloria assented, content. Now, we ought to address tomorrow's session. The session she mentioned would prove my initial direct meeting with Richard since the activity. He requested it via his attorney, a youthful public protector named Marcus Reed, who reached Gloria the prior day. He states he failed to grasp the sterling activity's scope. Gloria persisted in neutral manner. He asserts Veronica concealed him from nearly all, and that the authority of attorney he deceived you into endorsing permitted him to convey funds from your holdings. I could not suppress the acrimony entering my tone. He concealed about those two also. Gloria's look eased. I defend him not, Isabella. I merely convey what his attorney stated. I placed my utensil on the dish, desiring consumption no longer. What else stated this Reed? Richard desires cooperate completely with the probe. He offered provide thorough account about Veronica and her folks reciprocally for his circumstance considered in his procedure. He deceives them. The notion ought not surprise me, yet it did. The Richard I knew proved fiercely devoted. Survival drive, Gloria proposed. The proof against the Sterlings overwhelms. He selects the convenient judicial path. And what desires he from me I questioned, though suspecting already, formally nothing, the session supposedly merely for him to provide his account of occurrences. Gloria's doubtful manner clarified she disbelieved that complete truth. Unofficially, my sense is, he hopes you address the accusers for him. A parent's appeal for mercy could hold great influence. I shut my gaze, weary to my essence. The notion of facing Richard, hearing his rationales and pretexts, compressed my chest with ache. You need not meet him, Gloria noted gently. At this stage, you owe him nothing. I realize, I stated. But I require responses, Gloria. I require comprehend how my child could evolve someone able to perform this. The discussion chamber in the national structure proved chilly and bare. A metallic surface, uneasy seats, and a vast reflector undoubtedly hiding and viewing chamber. I rested with Gloria adjacent, my palms joined on the surface to conceal their minor shake. When the entry opened, I scarcely identified the male who preceded. Richard, my child, always confident and groomed, appeared unkempt, his typical attire substituted by creased khaki trousers and plain top. The stubble shadow on his countenance revealed unshaven days. "Mom," he stated as he occupied a cross. His attorney, grave youthful male with wire frames, rested beside. Richard, I welcomed, striving to maintain tone stable. A strained quiet extended between, neither knew initiating this unfeasible dialogue. Mrs. Hayes, Marcus Raid, eventually spoke. My patron requested this session to explain certain situation elements he believes misconstrued. I listen, I answered, gaze fixed on Richard, not attorney. Richard cleared throat. Initially, I desire you realize I never intended matters escalate thus. When Veronica and I discussed her folks relocating to Phoenix, intended temporary, merely until securing own spot, and the authority of attorney, I cut him, the one you deceived me into endorsing pre-procedure. He dropped gaze and shame. That proved Veronica's notion. She stated merely precaution, if choice is required while you mended. Yet you employed it to convey my dwelling and empty my holdings. I charged, he paused, viewing attorney, who scarcely assented, that all Veronica and Raymond. They stated moving funds to safer placements for your later years. I failed to realize actual larceny. I observed his countenance, seeking honesty in gaze. Desperation existed, undoubtedly, fear. But genuine remorse or regret at capture, the dwelling I pressed. You personally stated I could return not. You positioned at the entry of the home your parent and I constructed and stated no longer mine. His gaze fixed on surface. Veronica persuaded me best. She stated dwelling excessive for you, you happier in senior residence. He gulped deeply. I believed assisting you, he added, referencing expelling me with sole attire worn and placing individual items in storage containers. The serenity I sustained started fracture. That lacks assistance, Richard. That proves harshness. I realize, he whispered. Now realize what held they over you, I exclaimed. It proved the inquiry tormenting days, Veronica and her folks. What influence that you deceive own parent thus? Richard abruptly raised head, astonished. His attorney moved restlessly. Mrs. Hayes, Marcus Reed inserted. We ought focus on no, Richard cut. She merits knowledge, he inhaled deeply. 3 years past, I performed poor placements. I forfeited much, our reserves, segment of later fund. Desperate recover prior Veronica learning. Raymond proposed aid. He stated secure placement chances. He loaned funds, I surmised. Richard assented, looked dejected initially. Yes, then complicated further. I endorsed documents, involved in their firms without true comprehension. By realization, already entangled in multiple deceptions. They possessed leverage over you, Gloria noted. They held me captive, Richard amended bitterly. Veronica clarified if I failed cooperate with intentions. Her father ensured I bore full fault. I attempted absorb this fresh data, reconciling with child I believed knew. And my dwelling, my holdings, loyalty test, he confessed, shrugging shamefully to prove committed to activity. Veronica stated once area land rezoned. Earned sufficient I could settle you elsewhere comfortably. Believed you that? I failed concealed disbelief in tone. Desired believe it. He answered softly, easier than accepting actual actions. The harsh honesty of statements struck me initially since nightmare onset. I glimpsed remembered child, lad who caught falsehood, eventually confessed truth, regardless pain. Richard, I stated cautiously, what precisely request of me today? Initially, he maintained gaze. Nothing, Mom. I merit not your aid or pardon. I merely, his tone faltered slightly, required you realize I never intended harm you. Weak and frightened, performed dreadful choices. Whatever occurs now, accept it. The plainness and grace of response, unlike frantic pretexts imagined, disarmed me. Prior to reply, rap at entry cut us. Operative Rips proceeded, assenting apologetically. Regret cut, but urgent issue. Mrs. Hayes, could you exit momentarily? In chilly, sterile national structure discussion chamber, I ultimately faced my child, seeking responses to deception, tearing relatives apart. Rather than pretexts expected, Richard disclosed complex truth, entangled with sterling firms years passed from financial desperation, becoming pawn via extortion and control. Though explanation failed justify actions, confessing dwelling conveyance loyalty test by Veronica provided initial glimpse of child I believed knew. As painful disclosure started alter comprehension, Operative Rips entered with pressing news, suggesting fresh twist in increasingly complex case. Despite all, I pondered if path forward existed amid ruin, not rearward to prior, but toward different founded on painful honesty, not easy deceptions. Operative Rips guided me to compact meeting chamber down corridor. Gloria trailed closely, her usually stable manner somewhat changed, instantly alerting me. What occurred, I questioned as entry shut beyond us. We implemented fresh exploration permits linked to Sterling files. Rips elaborated, setting directory on surface. Dallas team discovered something you must view. She accessed directory and extracted multiple images, arranging carefully ahead me. I leaned, viewing overwhelming pictures with increasing confusion. They depicted private medical chamber, health gear, and patient in bed. I fail comprehend, I stated, gazing upward. What relates this to? Statements lodged in throat as I concentrated on final image. The patient proved me unaware, linked to devices in critical care during latest admission. These discovered in concealed vault in Raymond Sterling's Dallas station. Rips elaborated quietly. Adjacent, she set another document set on surface. My health logs, physician remarks, drug directives, and clinical diagrams, which ought remain strictly guarded at Phoenix General Hospital. How obtained they these? Gloria questioned, attorney drive instantly seizing implications. That troubles us, Rips answered. Time marks on images fail match standard visiting periods, and documents hold data relatives normally lack access. Chill passed through me as I grasped implication. Someone within medical center collaborated with them. Rips assented grimly. Identified nurse who entered your logs multiple times when neither Richard nor Veronica present. Telephone logs display numerous contacts between this individual and Raymond Sterling. But why? I questioned, striving comprehend close. Monitoring reason, Gloria's countenance paled as she inspected documents. Isabella, view these drug remarks. I tracked her digit to remark on diagram. Dosage change in post-price, eager ache control. Initial order crossed and substituted higher dose different script. Your mending extended beyond expected, Rips elaborated cautiously. Infection kept you admitted 21 days, rather usual 5 to 7. Investigating if deliberately induced. Implication struck physically. State they attempted to I failed complete sentence. No accusations yet, Rips clarified instantly, but probe possibility someone intentionally sought extend admission to grant Sterling's additional time implement intentions. I seized surface border abruptly lightheaded. Notion someone altered medical care, endangering life. Nearly incomprehensible. Does Richard comprehend this? I succeeded inquire. Not yet, she answered. Desired inform you initially due personal discovery nature. Gloria placed palm over mine, looked solemn. Isabella, if someone purposely changed care, case escalates greatly. No longer merely deception and senior mistreatment, but possibly attempted. I realize I cut, unable hear statements aloud. Possibility too horrific, confront directly. Another aspect Rips persisted with evident unease. Discovered life coverage policy your name, issued 6 months past. Beneficiary listed Richard Thompson. I sensed chamber sway. Richard knew, I whispered, final hope fragments for child crumbling. He must know. Not inevitably, Rips cautioned. Application bears signature, but identified multiple falsified files this case. Require further probe prior conclusions. I shut gaze, striving resist fresh betrayal surge. If Richard aware these actions, if complicit in life threat, then all stated in discussion chamber falsehood. That true child image, believed glimpsed, merely another control. Require view him anew, I stated, reopening gaze renewed purpose. Immediately, Mrs. Hayes with fresh data advise against. Rips started. Require view countenance when hears this. I pressed that how know if new, after 21 years compliance official and lifetime parent, developed near supernatural falsehood detection. Must gaze Richard eyes when bomb falls. Rips paused, then assented. Intended question him these discoveries regardless. If insist present, arrange it. Upon return chamber, Richard and attorney spoke hushed. Attorney leaned ahead, instantly alert. Operative Rips, patron cooperated fully. If imply participated any, I imply nothing yet. Rips cut. Request explanation these files. Cannot explain as involved nothing. Richard's tone rose panic. Veronica managed all coverage matters. Stated updating policies, endorsed whatever presented. Raw fear gaze, not merely outcome fear, but true dread at actions revealed more than words. My child proved weak, naive, morally brittle, but disbelieved consciously joined plan endangering life. Realize this means, Richard, I questioned quietly. Spouse and folks possibly intended far worse than appropriating dwelling. He covered countenance palms, shoulders starting shake. Oh God, he whispered, what performed I, what permitted occur? Viewing child confront spouse betrayal scale, sensed unforeseen compassion wave. Richard performed dreadful choices. Betrayed me unforgivably, but also sterling control victim. Another darker game piece than understood. Require amend account, he abruptly stated, gazing upward fresh purpose. Require disclose all know about Veronica and folks, everything. Devastating disclosure shattered remaining world. Proof suggested Sterling's purposely complicated medical mending, possibly endangering life. Most startling, life coverage policy me beneficiary Richard. Confronted proof, child's true dread and astonishment, informed desperately needed, though betrayed terribly, not involved monstrous plot aspect. While Richard faced spouse actions truth, purpose disclose all suggested darker secrets uncovered. Despite ongoing anger, pondered perhaps amid nightmare, initial delicate redemption seeds born. Not pardon yet, but possibly comprehension, 17 assets, operative Callahan extended map across meeting surface. All obtained identical deceitful means, all funneled shell firms linked Sterling's. 2 weeks elapsed since explosive medical logs revelations. Moved safe residence FBI provided. Solely Gloria and case operatives new location. Probe expanded impressively, revealing criminal web far broader initial thought. And nurse I questioned haunting since learning possible deliberate mending complication. Miranda Jenkins, Rips answered, advancing personnel file me. Served post-procedure care 3 years. Verified received multiple payments Sterling shell firm totaling over $25, zero past 6 months. Admitted manipulating medication. Required complete truth painful however. Callahan and Rips exchanged looks. Cooperates, Callahan stated cautiously. Per account, ordered extend mending by adjusting drugs and introducing mild bacterial during Roman IV swaps. Abdomen turned at clinical explanation coldness, meaning calculated injury, could killed me. Claims calibrated contamination, prolong admission without life risk. Rips added, tone repulsion loaded, as if soften actions. And Veronica orchestrated all, question nearly rhetorical, new answer already. Raymond Sterling initial contact Jenkins, Callahan verified. But proof indicates Veronica design details, Texts recovered phone include exact inquiries, treatment schedule, drug plan, expected release dates. Shut gaze moment, still assimilating calculated harshness. Own daughter-in-law purposely extended suffering by time scheme. Enriched engagement, Gloria questioned, voicing unable, found no proof new medical control. Rip stated cooperation, extensive believed genuine. Prosecution views testimony crucial sustain case Sterling's, least minor ease, child betrayed but not conspired physical harm. Difference notable, though failed erase action's pain. Anything else view. Callahan questioned, advancing another directory me. Recovered Veronica private email. Within message series Veronica parents nearly 2 years past. Meticulously planned seize assets, starting isolate family friends, gradually appropriate monetary affairs, finally relocate long-term care once legal control. Coldness made palms shake reading. Targeted long pre-hip procedure needed, viewing physical decline exploit chance. Admission merely hastened schedule, and this, Callahan persisted, perhaps disturbing most. Placed printed luxury retirement community Arizona ad. Accompanied Veronica parents' email. Perfect spot Isabella everything finalized, isolated, minimal oversight. Memory unit admits minimal medical files. There, absolute control visits communications. Planned institutionalize, effectively imprison distant known, easily forgotten enjoy stolen proceeds. Additional charges this proof, Rips elaborated. Senior mistreatment, plot, possibly attempted homicide prosecutor interprets medical control. Assented, overwhelmed speak immediately. Scheme scale planned, calculated ruin not merely monetary safety, but freedom dignity nearly impossible assimilate. When home, finally questioned, haunting weeks, forensic team completed residence yesterday. Callahan answered, technically return now, though recommend wait confirm no safety threats. Desire today, responded firmly. Require own space, Gloria squeezed palms supportively. Stay initial days. Install extra safety needed. Rips assented. Arrange but another issue address. Paused moment. Richard requested another session. Transferred minimum safety prison pending trial. Asked view pre. Initial reaction refuse. Betrayal injury raw. Unsure emotional vigor another challenge. Yet inner something, perhaps parent recalling former boy, could refuse request. Tomorrow morning, agreeable, Rips answered direct inquiry. Thereafter, visits highly restricted until proceedings end. Assented slowly, view then. Identical afternoon, stood veranda key palm, hesitating pre-inserting fastener. Facade identical, but new interior strangers invaded space, planned downfall safety place. Take time, Gloria stated softly adjacent. This difficult, inhaled deeply turned mechanism, familiar home aroma, wood shine, aged volumes, faint lavender closet sachets, now overlaid foreign scents cleaning agents. Sterling brief occupancy traces subtle, furnishings scarcely shifted, favorite orchid sunroom gone. Fresh drapes living area, study, Anony vintage workspace turned door rather pane always worked garden view. Minimal shift struck harder expected. Erased routines history can restore all prior, Gloria guaranteed, noting countenance. Yours anew, assented slowly touring rooms, noting shifts violations. Master bedroom, attire closet gone, substituted Veronica costly outfits. Simple adornment case emptied. Pieces Anthony gifted many marriage years absent. FBI recovered most adornment Sterling safety box, Rips earlier stated. Return post-processing evidence. Minor comfort strangers touched intimate marriage memories, judging monetary not emotional worth. Kitchen, handwritten recipe collection, including mother-grandmother, irreplaceable, discarded, substituted glossy modern volumes clearly unused. Disdain personal, as erased relatives' history, deeper injury monetary larceny, Surveying harm, odd serenity settled. Dwelling items violated yet mine. Survived, fought, reclaimed, taken. Sterling underestimated resilience, assets, purpose. Staying, decided, viewing Gloria. Tonight, dwelling, certain, questioned concern, start fresh tomorrow. Certain answered renewed tone vigor. Refuse permit, keep away own dwelling another night. Evening fell, rested rear veranda teacup, viewing twilight descend garden Anthony I planted decades past. Flowers require trimming, hydrangeas neglected, but creation essence remained. Tomorrow more tough dialogues, Richard, more judicial steps, extended rebuilding dwelling life. But tonight reclaimed space, beginning as probe advanced, faced terrifying truth. Veronica Folks concocted plan perverse simple larceny. Proof showed purposely hampered medical mending, corrupt nurse complicity. Planned institutionalize isolated facility stalked nearly 2 years. Though Richard oblivious darkest plot aspects, calculated harshness prepared monstrous assimilate. Standing violated dwelling, viewing erased married life traces, understood extended route ahead. Not merely recover asset, but safety sense. Tomorrow, another child confrontation pre-facility transfer awaiting trial. Dialogue feared unavoidable desire, comprehend relatives collapsed completely. Visitation chamber detention center brighter, imagined fluorescent lights reflecting pale yellow partitions failed cheer attempt. Richard rested compact surface, standard uniform loose frame. Lost weight post-detention, countenance drawn, gaze hollow sleepless nights. Thank arriving, stated seated across, no attorney present, your choice, informed, desired view me, answered, maintaining tone serene. Assented, dropping gaze joined palm's surface. Informed nurse, Veronica Folks planned you. Yes, stated, adding no more. Awaited, swear mom failed no. Tone faltered slightly, new desired dwelling funds, bad sufficient, unforgivable, but never imagined would. Silent, unable express full horror plotted. Believe you, stated plainly, head snapped upward, astonished. Believe specific part. Yes, viewed sufficient proof, think unaware plans physical harm or institutionalize. Spoke measured objective manner, but new plans seize all mine. Willingly joined larceny, flinched, failed, deny. Yes, why Richard, inquiry haunting weeks finally surfaced, grew every benefit. Parent I taught integrity, others respect. Happened boy, Richard silent extended, as gathering confession courage. Asked self-identical inquiry every cell night, finally answered. Simple response weak. Feared losing Veronica failed desire. Feared monetary outcomes, father expose earlier deceptions involvement. Difficult response, pressed, difficult response, stated, gazing directly eyes. Point believed deserved beyond earned. Justified deceive obtain desired. Tone barely audible, evolved unrecognizable, dad ashamed. Anthony mention, proud son, dreamed becoming man, pierced chest sharp ache. Parent disappointed, admitted doubt, I too, but disappoint most fail mistakes, betray principles cover. Richard assented, accepting truth excuses. Accusers offered plea, 5 years reduce 3 good conduct, reciprocally full testimony Veronica Folks, accept, yes, answered hesitation, clemency beyond deserve, silent moment, outcomes wait, hanging, sun prison years, known life vanished forever. Bright future Anthony I imagined reduced sterile visitation chamber unforgiving fluorescent. Discovered house yesterday, stated shifting. Topic, base father workspace drawer. Retrieved satchel worn envelope. Letter wrote you pre-death. Requested deliver needed most. Time now. Richard Palm shook slightly accepting envelope. Turning view name Anony unmistakable script. Failed no existed whispered. Last month's wrote several letters stated final one. Observed open cautiously paper might crumble fingers. Remained quiet reading. viewing emotions cross countenance, ache, shame, finally determination akin. Finished, folded letter cautiously pressed chest moment, pre-returning envelope. Thank delivering this, stated, tone firmer. Needed hear voice anew, even circumstances. Gestured vaguely surroundings, what afterward, questioned. Sentence served seemed surprise, perhaps failed permit think far. Perhaps failed expect imagine future beyond penalty. Fail no admitted, career finances ended, obviously reputation, shrugged, gesture volumes former life ruin. Rebuild self stated, not merely practically, morally too, hardest task, no, paused moment, then questioned heaviest. Ever pardon me, Mom, thought cautiously pre-answering, unwilling easy phrases, false vows. Pardon lacks single moment, Richard. Process currently, still absorb ache, deception, discovering became impact. Gaze directly eyes, fail no complete pardon possible, but no one. Still son, biological fact unchanged, relationship henceforth depend choices make moment onward, assented accepting partial response unexpected serenity. Fair beyond fair, time nearly ended, guard neared, ready escort cell, standing farewell, questioned more. Dwelling, stay post all occurred, yes, answered firmly, home, refuse permit actions force, flee life father I constructed, good, whispered softly. Dad desired that, viewing depart, shoulders high despite all, sensed unexpected closure, lacked mending. Require longer, but understanding onset, son dreadful choices, betrayed ways perhaps never fully mended. But beneath scheme participant man, former boy fragments remained. Exterior detention center, Gloria awaited car, silent support learned trust tough weeks. How proceeded? Questioned settling passenger, expected well, answered, viewing autumn foliage swirl lot. Accepted plea, 5 years, perhaps 3. Feelings, reflected moment, permitting full sentiment examination. Sad, eased, still angry, less prior. Most clear occurred heading. Gloria assented, comprehending extra explanation. Drove true home, reclaimed restoration process, pondered recent months' experiences, betrayal strike, justice fight. Horror discovering planned reaching fragile resolution moment, route ahead complex, judicial Veronica folks months drag, fully secure assets rebuild lifetime, relationship son salvageable years, constant effort require, but initially post-awakening procedure discovering world shattered, sense true future hope. Not path easy, but found inner strength never imagined, turned street, setting, sun-bathed dwelling facade, golden glow promised fresh starts amid endings. Cold, harsh detention center visitation, chamber light, finally heard sun lips truth. Moral failure confession, strayed values father I instilled. Though viewed genuinely horrified physical harm, Veronica folks planned. Took full responsibility, asset larceny, facing plea prison years. Delivered father final gift. Letter Anthony wrote pre-death, saved moment Richard needed most. Forgiveness inquiry lacked easy response. Offered truth extended uncertain route both. Departing detention center, sensed unexpected. Clarity, lacked mending yet. Initial step new reality both. Dwelling restored justice underway. Found self anticipating rather past anchored. Recognizing possessed strength unknown. That's final one. Gloria stated, setting relative's portrait newly placed living shelf. 6 months elapsed since Richard Detention Center encounter. 6 months patiently rebuilding dwelling, finances, safety sense, appears. Should, commented, surveying living area. Furnishings returned place. Drapes substituted liked styles. Sterling brief stay subtle traces meticulously erased. Superior right. Gloria countered, indicating fresh safety system, panel entry. Safer ever, correct. All endured led practical enhancements, reinforced fasteners, comprehensive safety system, fresh monetary account protocols. Fragility permitted Sterling's infiltrate life, identified fortified future threats. Flowers blooming anew, added, viewing Pain Garden, spring growth emerging. Hours, replanting, tending beds, sterling occupation neglected, finding unexpected healing earth reconnection. Gloria grinned, catching words metaphor, returning proper care time, recovery possible. Past months brought notable advancement. Veronica Folks faced federal charges, avalanche, deception, plot, senior mistreatment, attempted homicide, medical control. Proof bolstered Richard detailed testimony, overwhelming. Avoid trial lengthy terms, accepted pleas. 20 years Raymond, 15 Claudia, 18 Veronica. Criminal web scale larger initial thought victims, 3 states identified. Nurse altered medication 8 years. Reduced 5 reciprocally testifying other vulnerable Sterlings targeted. Probe uncovered 2 prior elderly proprietors died suspicious post-Sterling investment properties involvement. Now possible homicides opened. Neighborhood spared predatory rezoning. Sterling activity exposed. Acquired assets returned rightful proprietors' heirs. Locality united senior support web protect similar future deceptions. Decided visit. Gloria questioned, pulling thoughts serving iced tea glasses. Visit Richard latest request. Post 3 months minimum safety serving. Asked consider viewing anew. Letters weekly post incarceration onset. Respected boundaries, assuming no pardon. Consistently remorse showing rehabilitation attempts describing. Think proceed, stated, surprise, tone, certainty, not next week. Garden Club fundraiser, perhaps following. Gloria assented, looked neutral carefully. Seem calmer notion month past. Dreamed Anthony last night, explained. Memory brought solace unexpected. Veranda swing conversing old times. Stated something remained. Mending lacks erasing injury. Means purpose scar finding. Sounds Anthony, Gloria noted soft grin. Always wisdom tough periods. Awakened pondering Richard, continued. Wounds never fully seal, perhaps meaningful lead, not return. Prior forward new, doorbell cut dialogue. New tablet, screen safety camera connected. Viewed delivery holding vast floral setup. Anticipating blooms. Gloria questioned heading entry. No, answered, suddenly old weariness sensing. Distrust failed vanish easily despite safety measures. Gloria verified delivery credentials pre-accepting bouquet. Lovely lilies irises arrangement, favorites. Card read simply, pondering birthday, neighbor, Eleanor Jameson. Grinned, touched gesture. Eleanor Jameson moved opposite house 3 months past. Retired literature instructor quick humor similar preferences. Slowly forged friendship, sharing garden advice reading suggestions. Lost spouse Anthony lost time, instantly understanding bond created. Lovely gesture, Gloria noted, admiring setup, building solid locality here. Correct, post-Sterling scandal, conscious choice strengthened ties rather isolation retreat. Neighborhood book club. Founded monthly living meets. Senior center volunteered twice weekly. Valuable friendships place became. Garden Club welcomed enthusiastically heirloom roses expertise. Appointed annual exhibition. Head, authentic, chosen freely bonds greatest future vulnerability defense became. Pondering foundation. Stated settling patio swing teacups. Anthony Miller Medical Research Foundation. Clarified husband organization pre-passing fund rare heart condition studies ended life. About it, Gloria questioned. Desire expand mission, explained. Add elder protection division, legal aid, deception prevention, education, victim services. Gloria eyes interest lit. Experience aid similar situations others. Precisely. Sterling's dozens victims pre-targeting me. Most lacked resources knowledge defend. Desire alter reality others. Wonderful notion, Gloria stated warmly. Anthony proud. Think too, answered viewing neighborhood, rebuilt home safety sense, scar purpose finding, use say. Afternoon evening slipped, comfortable silence remained. Viewing neighbor's work returned children near, by yards play. Locality pulse beating us, trauma lived never fully vanish, always intense alertness moments, betrayal echoes suddenly emerge. But Scar's daily existence defined no longer. Wisdom source became deeper empathy, renewed purpose. Later, Gloria departed, rested Anony workspace, correctly pane garden front placed, began outline foundation, fresh division structure. Worked sense cycle closing. Sterling selected fragile, exploitable elderly widow viewed. Foundation transform painful experience many others protection. Tomorrow, fresh challenges bring. Foundation board meeting, future Richard visit preparations. Garden restoration, absence neglected. Initially many months, anticipated challenges, true enthusiasm, not determination merely. Telephone rang, cutting work. Eleanor, opposite neighbor, calling Blooms arrived confirm weekend chamber music concert invite. Conversed, understood life altered 6 months reclaimed dwelling. Betrayal broke essential something. Basic family trust, familiar spaces protection offer. But rupture, fresh strengths emerged, fresh ties, different purpose perhaps otherwise never born. Scar purpose finding, murmured self-hanging, Anony wisdom mind resonated, injury erasing not, transform meaningful allowing, time beauty form become. 6 months post Richard confronting, unexpected renewal phase find. Dwelling restored, garden blooms anew. Veronica Folks lengthy prison terms accepted news receive. Extensive criminal web dismantled finally. Targeted neighborhood mutual defense united. Fresh friendships community ties daily life enrich forged. Richard minimum safety prison another visit requests. Anthony dream inspired decide ready step take. Erase occurred intention not. Painful experience meaning finding. Purpose concrete Anthony Miller Medical Research Foundation expand elder protection services plan form takes. Personal trauma others victims become might shield transforming. New chapter settle, realize betrayal essential broke something. Rupture unexpected growth space opened, fresh connections, deeper wisdom truly matters. Time left, story reminds wicked sooner later, unmasked punished, upright heart, maintain justice peace deserve find. This